morning. I would like to officially welcome all of you, almost 500 of you, to the Women's Forest Congress. Yes, let's give that a round of applause. I am Dr. Antamia Farrell, and I am the Associate Dean for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the University of Kentucky College of Agriculture, Food, and Environment, and the past National Manners President from 2019 to 2021. I will be serving as your facilitator for these next few days. This is not your ordinary conference, so be ready to bring your ideas to the table and contribute to the work during our time together. I can assure you that we are creating a safe space where we, as women, can be vulnerable. Many times as women, we equate vulnerability to weakness. But ladies, over the course of the next few days, I want us to equate vulnerability to fostering unity. We are coming together in a shared space to be the change makers we want to see in this sector. Reflecting on where we were 2 amazing years ago, with the dream of developing a Women's Forest Congress, to being in the room at the Women's Forest Congress shows that when we put like-minded women together, a dream can become a reality. I believe in the African proverb, if we want to go fast, go alone. If we want to go far, go together. It has taken all of our hands, hard work, dedication, sacrifice, and participation to get to where we are today. This is a momentous occasion where we will celebrate success and advocate for change. Dr. Maya Angelou once said, "I learned a long time ago, the wisest thing that I can do is be on my own side, be an advocate for myself and others like me." During the Congress, I hope we find courage and support for ourselves and others, knowing that we will make a difference in the forest sector. So promise me, over the course of the next 2 days and moving forward, we will be vulnerable and tapping into a part of ourselves that has always been there, but has been untapped. Can you all promise me that we will tap into our possibility these next 2 days? All right. We all have untapped potential, and I want us to release our untapped potential into this atmosphere. This is only the beginning. A few housekeeping items. Don't forget to follow us on social media platforms. We have Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Connect to our Women's Forest Congress network to share your positive experiences from today. You can tag Women's Forest Congress and use the hashtag #WeAreWFC in all of your posts. And be sure to join the Women's Forest Congress networking group on LinkedIn. The Congress would not have been made possible if it were not for our sponsors. Please join me in acknowledging our sponsors. And before we kick off, a few housekeeping items. We do have our 2 photographers and 1 documentalist who are with us to document this historical event. So don't be surprised if they pop up in your delegation rooms, your side events, or elsewhere. Exits in case of an emergency, proceed out the main doors here and follow instructions from the staff. Our bathrooms, our restrooms on this floor are gender neutral. Gender-specific restrooms are available on the lobby level, which is 1 floor down. We have a mother's room. We've made space available for nursing mothers on this floor. Visit our mother's room just inside the glass fishbowl room. It is out these doors and to the right. And don't forget to download our Whova mobile app with opportunities to network with other attendees, start discussion threads on topics of interest, schedule meetups, which I've been seeing those meetups popping up, so keep it up, and also being able to fellowship with the participants and much more. If you need to stretch out, we again have our seating up here and our tall tabletops, which are being utilized, I love it, around the room. And so we are here. We want you to be comfortable for the duration of the Congress. And finally, if you have any questions or need assistance, look for our wayfinders in the hallways or stop by the registration and or info desk and just outside these doors where we checked in for Congress, or use the Hoover app to ask organizers if you have any questions. Are we ready to kick off the Congress this morning? I need to be a little louder than are we ready? Yes, yes. I would like to begin to introduce Minnesota Department of Natural Resources Commissioner Sarah Stroman. Formerly the DNR's Assistant Commissioner, she now oversees a DNR staff of about 2,700 located in St. Paul and around the state, with the mission of working with Minnesotans to conserve and manage the state's natural resources, providing outdoor recreation opportunities, and providing for commercial uses of natural resources in a way that creates a sustainable quality of life. Prior to coming to DNR in 2015, Stroman served as Assistant Director at the Board of Water and Soil Resources. Before becoming acting Deputy Director, she previously served as Policy Director for Friends of the Boundary Waters Wilderness and as Associate Director of the Minnesota Land Trust. She served several terms on the Ramsey City Council and was elected mayor in 2012, a position she stepped down from in May of 2018. She is an avid outdoors person, spending family weekends fishing, hunting, snowmobiling, camping, and hiking. I would like to welcome Commissioner Stroman to the stage.
Well, good morning, everyone. There is such great energy in this room, and I am so thrilled to be here. I'm really pleased to welcome all of you to Minnesota, and for those of you who are from Minnesota, I'm pleased to welcome you this morning to this event. I'm Sarah Stroman. I am the Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, and on behalf of myself and my DNR colleagues, there are many of them in this room, including Assistant Commissioner Shannon Lotthammer and our Forestry Division Director, Patty Thielen, and also on behalf of Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, who was not able to be with us here today. I want to thank the organizers of this event for choosing Minnesota and for the invitation to be part of this kickoff to the inaugural Women's Forest Congress. I can't tell you how thrilled I am to be joining this room full of women. This is not a common sight, and this is an amazing sight. I wish I'd brought my phone up here because I would have taken a picture. This is awesome. And I love the description of the Congress. It says, it is women throughout the forest community who share personal and professional experiences, connect with each other, shape the latest innovations, and consider how actions informed by our perspectives can make a profound impact on the future of forests. Plus, you're also here in Minnesota at a wonderful time of year. Fall is my favorite season in Minnesota, and I think Minnesota's fall is the perfect backdrop for these discussions taking place at the Congress. By the time I'm finished on the stage here this morning, you'll have learned that I'm something of a cheerleader for Minnesota and our outdoor resources. We have a diversity of natural landscapes in our forests, prairies, lakes, and rivers. We have world-class outdoor recreation opportunities in our 60 state forests, 75 state park and recreation areas, more than 5,000 miles of trails, countless hunting and angling opportunities, as well as paddling, mountain biking, bird watching, whatever you desire. Some of you may know Minnesota as the land of 10,000 lakes. To be accurate, and I hope, as the Minnesotans in this room may know, it's actually 11,482 lakes. But Minnesota is also home to more than 80,000 streams and 1,700 public water accesses. We're known for some of the cleanest water in North America, and we can thank our forests for that. 75% of Minnesotans get their drinking water from a forested area, which means naturally filtered water that needs less treatment downstream. So yes, water is important here in Minnesota, but we need to remember we would not have this clear, wonderful water wonderland without our trees and our forests. Personally, I spend a lot of time in our state forests. And if any of you have heard of the Paul Bunyan State Forest, you may have heard of the Paul Bunyan legend, but we have a forest in the Northwoods called the Paul Bunyan State Forest. That's a favorite for my family, and that is often where we spend time hiking, hunting, wildlife watching, when we're able to get away from work and school. I actually hope to be there this weekend. I hope that some of you had a chance to get out and enjoy some of our forests, either doing a tour yesterday or upcoming, or find some way to get outdoors later this week. We actually have Fort Snelling State Park is just very close by, and it will give you a nice break from the noise of the airport. I guarantee you, you will not regret it. So as you heard, the mission of the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources is to work with Minnesotans to conserve and manage the state's natural resources, to provide outdoor recreation opportunities, and to provide for commercial uses of natural resources in a way that creates a sustainable quality of life. And I always like to highlight the most overlooked part of our mission. Usually people focus on those three things that we do. But if we focus on the first part, we work with Minnesotans. And while this is often the most overlooked part of our mission, I actually think it's the most powerful part of our mission. In Minnesota, we have a passionate constituency and a history of civic engagement. Here in Minnesota, we have an amazing natural resource legacy, and that's due to the hard work of professional and citizen conservationists working hand in hand together long before the reins were handed to us. And of course, we can't work with Minnesotans unless we're connecting with them. And so an important element of that work is hearing from people about the barriers they face when connecting with the outdoors. By working with Minnesotans, we're finding new ways to make our facilities, lands, and engagement processes welcoming and accessible so that everyone can enjoy the benefits of Minnesota's outdoors. As part of that work, we convened the Minnesota Outdoor Recreation Task Force, which brought together a diverse set of stakeholders and interests to make recommendations and look at how we can foster growth, increased and equitable access, and a higher quality of outdoor recreation opportunities. We also recently translated our hunting and fishing regulations into the 4 languages other than English that are most commonly spoken in Minnesota, right? So now people who speak Hmong, Karen, Somali, or Spanish can access Minnesota's hunting and fishing regulations in their first language. We have more than 75 accessible facilities, such as hunting blinds, on more than a dozen wildlife management areas, and we offer accessible hunts for deer, goose, and turkey. And just this summer, we started offering all-terrain track chairs at 5 state parks, so people with mobility challenges can explore trails they've never been able to access before. These are just a few examples of our ongoing work in this area, but I want to highlight that accessible amenities not only benefit those who are experiencing a disability, accessibility also provides opportunities for adventure that families and friends can enjoy together, making lasting memories in the great outdoors of Minnesota. I think everyone here would agree that connecting to the outdoors and our forests is vital to the health and wellness and social and educational development of our young people. This summer, Minnesota unveiled the Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights. It affirms Minnesota's commitment to ensuring children experience equitable outdoor recreation experiences and discover the natural environment no matter where they live, learn, or play. It lists 15 rights that all Minnesota children have, from swimming, camping, hiking, hunting, fishing, to exploring and playing outdoors in safe, welcoming, and culturally affirming spaces. And many of these activities happen in our forests. Children who love the outdoors today become adults who care about conserving the outdoors for our future. So lifting barriers to get kids outside is not only critical for their health, it's also critical for the health of Minnesota's environment and our natural resources. Our school forest program is one way that DNR implements the Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights and helps children engage with nature and forests in particular. Over 55,000 students learn, explore, play across 150 school forest sites each year. These outdoor school-based activities help create the cultural fabric that supports the sustainable natural resource management and environmentally literate adults. We also know that the health and sustainability of our forests and other natural resources face a critical challenge with the impacts of climate change. Here in Minnesota, we can already see the impacts on our forests, our lakes, other natural lands and waters, as well as the impacts on Minnesotans' ability to access and enjoy the benefits those lands and waters provide. Minnesota recently released a climate action framework that sets a vision for how our state will address and prepare for climate change. This framework reflects input from across state government, state agencies, our tribal partners, as well as thousands of Minnesotans. It identifies immediate, near-term actions we must take in order to achieve our long-term vision of a carbon-neutral, resilient, and equitable future for our state. And forests sit at the center of many of the strategies and actions in this framework. As you all well know, public lands and our forests in particular are powerful climate mitigators to capture and store carbon, to provide increased climate resiliency, and by increasing water storage and reducing flood risk. Healthy forests absorb and store more carbon, they support native plants and animals, protect water quality, making our communities across Minnesota more livable and more resilient. And while these challenges ahead can seem daunting, I hope I've given you a glimpse through this talk of why I think Minnesota is the perfect place to hold this inaugural Congress. And why our governor, Tim Walz, likes to say that Minnesota is the problem-solving capital of America, because we don't just sit and admire the problem, we move forward in action. I'm deeply proud to be a Minnesotan and to serve as the commissioner of the Minnesota DNR. I'm the first woman to hold this position. And I'm proud of that too. But it is an important milestone, right? But I also look at it in a different way. Really, what's remarkable is not that in 2019, I became the first woman commissioner of the Department of Natural Resources in Minnesota, but to me, what's remarkable is that we haven't had one before. And so for me, looking at issues from multiple perspectives, flipping questions on their head, thinking about who is not in a key position, who is not engaged in a conversation but should be, is one of the things that I've sought to bring to DNR, and something that I know is at the heart of this Congress and this group here today. Our opportunity as women in the forestry community is not only to lead on forest and natural resource issues, but to make sure we're doing that in an inclusive way, to prepare the next generation of leaders So as you engage in discussions here and then go back to your work following this Congress, think about those opportunities that you have to come together, bring our diversity of experience and perspectives to find solutions and actions that solve complex problems, and think about who you can engage in the forestry community. I want to thank you for your commitment to this important work, and I want to thank you for having me here today. And just before I leave, before I relinquish the microphone, I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege because we have so many Minnesota DNR folks here today. I'm going to ask if following this session, we can all meet in the hallway so that we can get a DNR team photo. We should have organized that before, but it's a rare opportunity, especially after the last 2 years that we're all together, and I'm so thrilled we are. So we're going to capture it in a photo afterwards. Thank you.
And if you do not want to stand, we do have some seats up in the front, so please do not feel like you have to stand. Thank you so much, Commissioner Stroman, for giving us a warm welcome to Minneapolis, and we appreciate your kind words. Let's give Commissioner Stroman another round of applause. I would now like to introduce Sharon M. Day Ojibwe. Sharon is the Executive Director and one of the founders of the Indigenous Peoples Task Force, also known as IPTF, formerly known as the Minnesota American Indian AIDS Task Force. She is an artist, musician, and writer. She has performed at Illusion Theater, the American History Theater, Pangea World Theater, and for performances at the Ordway, the Guthrie, and the Kennedy Center. Her writings have been published in journals and anthologies. She has scripted several plays for I Can Do Win Youth Theater and a recent musical theater play that had a stage reading at Pangea World Theater. As a visual artist, she has won second, third place awards for soft sculpture for a national juried art show for urban Native American artists at Southwest Museum. She was recently featured in Nijimu at All My Relations Art Gallery. An environmental activist, she has led over 23 water walks since 2011 to offer prayers for these rivers. These rivers include the Mississippi, the Missouri, the Ohio, and the James River in Virginia. Acknowledgements for her work include the Resourceful Women Award, the Gisela Napka Award, BIHA's Women of Color Award, the National Native American AIDS Prevention Resource Center's Red Ribbon Award, and the Austin Bannerman Sabbatical Award. The governor of the state of Minnesota and the mayors of both St. Paul and Minneapolis named November 10th, 1998 after her Sharon M. Day Award. She is yes, let's give that a round of applause. She is a Spirit-Aligned Leadership Fellow. I would like to turn it over to Sharon M. Day Ojibwe.
Good morning. Buju Nanindaway Maganidug, Nagamo my Ingan and Dishnakaz, Wabashashi and Dodam, Ojibwe Koi and Dao, Dishnijo Madeo, Madewanakoi and Dao. In English, I said, greetings, my relatives. My name is Singing Wolf, and I'm from the Martin clan, that's Marten, and I'm second degree Madewan, which is the Grand Medicine Society, and Madewanakoi, which is one of the head water women. So I want to also welcome you to Minnesota, home of the Dakota people. And, you know, they lived here for thousands and thousands of years. And if you have the opportunity to go on the tour to Bedote or some of the other sites, please do so. I don't know if Kate Bean is still leading those, but you'll get a very good education. And, we Ojibwe, we're sort of latecomers, been here for about 500 years. So I want to say thank you to the committee for inviting me today. And I know that I appear very nice, but sometimes, we have to struggle for what we want to. So say miigwech to Amy for hanging in there with me. So just in terms of sort of a land acknowledgement, I wrote this piece called Radical Resurgence just this spring. And I was asked to do, again, a land acknowledgement for, I think it was a McKnight Foundation. And so, I wrote this. Return my lands to me, the lands where the bones of my ancestors lay. Give me my lands. I will plant corn, beans, and squash for the children, the elders, and my family. Give me passageway to the lakes where the wild rice grows. I will harvest, parch, and winnow the Minomen to hold a Thanksgiving feast. When we restore our languages, we will sing our ancient songs as we tap the maple trees to boil the sap for the maple syrup and sugar. Give us back our lands and our waterways, and we will restore them to their pristine pre-colonial state. This is sovereignty, to have agency to make relationships, understanding that negotiation means coming to an honorable agreement that is upheld by all parties. Honor the treaties, make reparations, repair the wrongs that have been done, treaties. It's as simple as this. I live on a farm. I have agreements with my chickens. I feed them, give them shelter and water, save them from the wild coyotes. They in turn give me eggs. I give some of the eggs to the man who comes to cut the buckthorn. The buckthorn being an invasive colonizing species on the lands where I reside. The buckthorn colonizers must go because, as good colonizers, their leaves are the first to appear in springtime, and they are the last to drop their leaves in the fall, thus forcing the maple, the cedar, and the pines to die out. This is what has been done to us. We are forced out of our lands since 1492, but we are still here. And we will remain here for as long as the rivers shall flow. Are the rivers worth protecting? Is the Mississippi River, the main artery on Turtle Island, worth protecting? Indigenous people believe that what we do or do not do affects the next 7 generations. Is the future of our great-great-grandchildren worth protecting? Is the earth worth protecting? What do you love? I think it is not the earth or the forests or the rivers or even your own descendants, because we protect that which we love. Look into your heart. What do you love? I know what I love. My lands, my people. Return our lands to us, the original people of Turtle Island. That is a land acknowledgement. One of my teachers, Josephine Mandaman, she was a fourth degree Medewan. When I say Medewan, it's not like saying I'm a Lutheran, because if I'm a Lutheran, I can go to Lutheran church for a while, right, and make my tithes, or and then at some point I'm a Lutheran, right? Virtually by going. Well, to be a Medewan, you have to do something. So in 1998, I offered my sema, and I stood at the doorway of the lodge, and I asked the grandmothers, Niswain Dan, we Medewian, I wish to become Medewan. And so then they said, Bindigin, come in. And then they gave me a year to study and to learn certain things. And had to go to ceremonies like 4 times a year for at least 4 days at a time, fast, go to sweat. And then at the end of that year, you stand at that doorway again and you ask again, Niswain Dan, we Medewian. And then they say yes, Bindigin, or they say Baka, wait. And that means you must wait and go through again another year. Well, I was a little afraid when I was at that doorway, because I thought, gosh, do they know I'm a lesbian? Because I always think of myself as being a little notorious, And so I'm standing there, like, wow. Because they always say, like, you have to be good moral character. And I thought it was pretty good moral character, but who knows what they think about lesbians, right? So, but they said, Bindigin, come in. And then I did it again in 2008, I think it was. But so Josephine Mandaman did that 4 times over the years. So she was like 4th degree Medewan. And she began the water walks in 2003, and she walked around Lake Superior and then all of the rest of the Great Lakes. And I found this the other day. Somebody had interviewed her, and Josephine was my teacher. She was my mentor. And this is how she describes our relationship with the forest. She says, you don't know what Lake Superior is going to do from one moment to the next. It's strong and can survive many, many things. It's very strong. So I have that feeling that Lake Superior is a woman. The second walk around Lake Michigan brought an appreciation for the caring presence of the ancestors. Along the way, the walkers saw pictographs on rock face in one area, large rocks with imprints and human shadows in another. At one point, they visited an area where there were a council of trees. Josephine described the experience there. There were great big maple trees, 4 on this side and 5 on the other side. On top, they were shaped like an umbrella or an awning, but they were not touching. I took my pail and I walked around. Not just me, but the others too. We walked around and offered tobacco to each of the trees. And when we were finished, I kind of felt compelled to give them water because they were so old and dry. So I took the pail and I had a cloth and I wiped the trees, to give them some wetness. And I got to the one over on the other, and I heard a man say, hey. I looked up at him and he said, look. I looked up and water was coming down the tree. It was crying. And it wasn't sugar water. It was pure water. This was in June. Maple syrup doesn't run at this time of year. I just prayed for that water and I prayed for the tree and I finished what I was doing. that's our relationship with those ones we call the standing ones. And I just wanted you to understand a little bit about how we feel about trees. And maybe some of you feel that way too, because trees make the forest, right? So I'm just going to finish with another little piece. And I see the photos are up. Great. You can just keep scrolling through them. And this I call a sonnet for the Acer. And you all look very beautiful out there. So nice to see a room full of women. Many a line has been penned for the pines, be they white, red, or ponderosa. Many a poem for the mighty oaks and the aspens in stopping by the woods on a snowy evening. But what of the acer, the sugar, silver, or red maple, the pollinators for the honeybees? What would pancakes taste like without the sap, that is tap, for maple syrup? What would music be missing without the melodious sound of the violins, violas, cellos, bassoons, guitar, and the dwagan, the drum, the heartbeat sound, all made from the maple? What would autumn be like without their bright red foliage? What would spring be like without the buds and the trees bursting into brilliant greens and golds? And what would a hazy, foggy morning be like without the dew hanging from the leaves? And what of that brilliant green that only appears on rainy, misty days? What would we humans be like without the medicine that comes from the acers, those beautiful sugar, silver, and red maples? Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Sharon, for that beautifully written land acknowledgement and the imagery that you have just shared. So thank you so much for being here with us today. Let's give Sharon another round of applause. I do want to say there are seats up here in the front. And so if anyone wants to sit down, there are seats up here. If you want to raise your hand, if you have a seat by you, there's many seats up here, but if you want to stand, again, we want you to be comfortable. So I have the pleasure of sharing the draft 2022 Women's Forest Congress Declaration. Yes, let's give that a round of applause. That's what we're here for. Yes, we're here. We made it. The document includes 3 parts: our recognition and acknowledgement statements, our resolutions, and our call to action for the sector. The entire draft document is available in the app for you to read and review. Before I read the draft call to action, I would like the delegates to stand up and please be recognized. Delegates, please stand. Thank you, delegates. The delegates will engage with attendees, listen to presentations, and meet in delegate-only deliberations during the Congress to capture and suggest revisions to our declaration and provide the final draft for endorsement on the final day of the Congress. Thank you for being recognized. You can now be seated. Thanks. As I read the call to action that is within our draft resolutions, think about the actions you are most passionate about working on and discussing during the Congress. The Women's Forest Congress challenges the forest and forest product sectors to: number 1, foster workforce opportunities for all women through mentorship programs, professional development, scholarships, etc., with a particular focus on reaching out to those who need help or are seeking for assistance in any part of their journey. So that is foster workforce opportunities for all. Number 2, increase the use of a storytelling format in conferences, trainings, and workshops so that the effectiveness of gaining knowledge through stories is understood and expected. Number 3, build workplace systems that support mental health coverage and training and programs promoting healthy lifestyles, such as family leave, flexible work schedules, generous vacation plans, social opportunities, and wellness programs. Number 4, enable employees to prioritize mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health and model healthy behaviors for others. Number 5, create a safe and welcoming workspace for all and allow workplaces to benefit from greater employee wellness and increase retention, higher productivity, improve creativity, heart-centered decision-making, and decrease healthcare costs. Number 6, broaden recruiting practices to include wider networks and build a pipeline of talent by connecting with and showcasing forests and the sector to youth and students, creating job shadowing and internship opportunities, etc. Number 7, promote a variety of working environments, encourage flexibility, and ensure all work environments are fully accessible for employees' physical, mental, and emotional needs. Number 8, intentionally identify and support more women and those from underrepresented groups to achieve leadership positions. And number 9, assess compensation for women and promote paths to pay equity at all levels, including discrepancies in intersectional identities, communities, and demographics. The participants of the 2022 Women's Forest Congress, our supporters and partners, will commit ourselves to advancing these actions through our organizations, networks, partnerships, and spheres of influence.